Hey guys, Anthony Devine from lawyerleadcalls.com. I want to thank you so much for checking out this live training video. I'm going to show you some great stuff. And what I really want to go over is kind of give a comparison for what it's like for paying for one call versus pay per click, which a lot of people are familiar with through Google AdWords. And one of the big differences is actually the cost. The cost for one click typically costs more than our call. And it's not a one-for-one trade-off. It usually takes multiple clicks with the hopes and prayers that you actually get a call from that. There's no guarantee, there's no assurance that you're actually ever going to get a call. But when you do our pay per call program, what it is we provide you 100% exclusive live telephone calls from real clients needing personal injury related case help with lawyers, as well as we have other specialty areas of the law, so DUI, personal injury, criminal, divorce and family law, and immigration. So we have all those involved. So if you're looking for live lead phone calls in any of those practice areas, you're going to want to contact us, especially after you watch this training, which is the primary purpose of what I'm doing here today. But just wanted to talk real briefly about what we do because it really does dovetail into it. But what I really want to talk about is the difference between what we provide in our call program versus pay per click, which you may be familiar with, and we're going to go over right now. I'm going to give you some different examples. So I'm going to pull up a couple of different items here. So as you can see right here, I've got Google AdWords pulled up for a keyword in Atlanta, personal injury lawyer in Atlanta. Okay, I can see here we've got Atlanta as our target market, and you can see some other things I'm doing here. I've got all sorts of stuff here. We'll go over it real slow and carefully so you understand. It's very important to understand these concepts here. But what we did is we, and you can do this too. You go to Google AdWords Keyword Planner tool, and it is a free tool to use, and you can do it and find out these types of the cost per click in your marketplace as well. Or if you have any questions, you want me to do it for you, you have my contact information right here in the right hand corner, and you also have it somewhere below the video or next to the video as well. So if you have any questions about it, let me know. I'd be more than happy to go through and do some research for you so you have an idea what the costs are from a pay-per-click perspective, which is important because that's really a market standard and one of the biggest metrics that businesses use to get an understanding what the cost is for marketing. Now, like I said, we're using Atlanta. We're using different personal injury lawyer terms. Now, you can see here kind of the benchmark. I use personal injury lawyer, so we're going to use that personal injury lawyer for Atlanta. For one click, Google suggests for Google AdWords, to get one click on a Google AdWord, $307.58. That's one click. That's not a phone call. A phone call is something way different. Every single law firm in their website, it's going to vary, what their conversion from clicks to calls are, and you always want to have that conversion rate. You want to have your percentage on that ratio to be high. So, for example, if you have a 10% click to call ratio, that means that 1 out of every 10 clicks results in a call. If you have 20%, it'd be 1 out of every 5 clicks, which sounds okay, right? But what if there's a better way? What if you could have a call every single time? You didn't have to worry about a click. What if instead you're not paying for the clicks, you're paying for the calls? I'm going to show you that in just a minute, how much more economical it can be. But first, it's really good to understand, what it can mean to from a pay per click perspective with Google AdWords. Now, like I said, just all you're seeing here, these suggested bids for these various keywords on the left-hand side. And you can see, for example, accident injury lawyers Atlanta, $1,136 for one click. That's not a call, it's a click. So if you take, on average, you can take a firm 4 to 10 or even more clicks to get one call. Let's say you're even great at converting clicks to calls. Let's say it's 25%. That's still $4,500 for that one phone call. You're going to see we can do it much more economical for you than that. And why do you want to bother with all those clicks hoping for calls when there's a much better way, right? So we're going to show you that as well. Now, I'm not, complaining about Google AdWords. They certainly have their place. It's not all about the cost of just the click to the call. I understand, you get the placement, and that can help from a branding perspective as well. But it's still ultimately, it's very expensive Real estate, it's very expensive, and there's a much better alternative when you're looking for the ultimate thing you're looking for. Marketing are phone calls anyway. So why not cut straight to the chase and get the calls, is what we deliver to you for these types of keywords much more economically. But you can see various keywords. I'm not going to go over each one. You can see there's several $100s here, even down here, top 10 or so, still $261 or 281. I can't see at the bottom. Should have my glasses on, I think, but you get the picture. Very expensive, and even like I said, on average, you look right in here. You can read this for yourself. These are Google suggested bids for one click. And like I said, it varies from firm to firm, but the number of clicks it takes to generate one phone call is typically anywhere from 4 to 10 or even more clicks, depending on the firm, depending on many variables, including the landing page, the website, all sorts of things, the individual doing the clicking. So why put in the hands of hope and prayer when you can just cut to the chase and get 100% exclusive live lead calls like we do? And we're going to show you that in just a minute, what it can mean to you economically. It's such a much more economical solution for you. So just one other thing to point out here is that if we took our example of $307.58 per one click and said you did a great job at converting, from click to call, just 4 clicks, you get a call. It's still over $1,200 for that one call. Now, if you weren't so good, it took you 8 calls, that'd be almost $2,500. Again, just for one call. There's got to be a better way, right? $2,500 for a call, and you have to know your lead call conversion rate. How many of those calls do you convert to clients? Get an understanding what that even means from a client acquisition perspective. So these numbers, as you can see, when you use Google AdWords, it can cost you quite a bit of money, right, to do it. And there's going to be a better way. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Now, I did want to show you one other market, just give you an idea. So we showed you Atlanta. Now this is Charlotte, North Carolina. And you can see I have Charlotte up here in the left-hand corner. And I don't have as much information here all over the place. But you can see here, left-hand side, we have the various keywords. And then again, the suggested bid. So you can see the bid price has come down for personal injury lawyer in Charlotte. It's not $300 and some dollars. It's in the 160s instead. So it's more economical, so to speak. But still, if it took you 4 clicks, it's still going to cost you over $600, close to $650 to get that one call. So still very expensive for one call, right? And you can see we've got auto accident attorney. It's over $400 for one click. Truck injury attorney in Charlotte, it's going to cost you close to $325 per click. If you do a great job of converting those clicks to calls, you're still looking at probably over $1,200 based on Google's suggested bid just for one click using AdWords, or excuse me, for one call using AdWords. So the bottom line here is you're looking at it even down here with accident injury lawyers in Charlotte, you're still looking at $550 or $540 thereabouts to get one phone call. Very expensive proposition, right? So when you look at that, you're thinking, maybe there is a better way. So I'm going to show you something here. Now, this looks, pretty overwhelming, but this is something I've devised. I admit I'm a geek in more than one way. My undergrad was actually in finance, so I'm pretty adept around doing, using spreadsheets. But what I did want to show you is give you an idea. On the left-hand side here is going to be what it is economically from a pay-per-call perspective. 100% exclusive lead calls coming to you, not shared with anybody else. A lot of businesses, a lot of lead generation companies will sell those phone calls or those phone numbers to 4 or 5 other law firms, not us. It's just one exclusive relationship. We don't even send. What happens is somebody picks up the phone, dials a number. It's automatically forwarded to your office. You guys pick up the phone and you take the call. You convert the prospect to client. We're not involved in that sense at all. We just help generate the call for you to make sure it gets your phones ringing. Simple as that. Now, a couple things we need to know and understand about your firm is the average case value per client. We're just going to throw $50,000 in here just to have a number. And also contingency fee percentage. We're just going to say 33 1/3, just like most. It's pretty customary. And let's go ahead and put those numbers over here on the other side. Let's see here. Average value per client. Add one more. There we go. And then we'll do 33.33. All right, I know this looks overwhelming, but it's not. I'll explain as we go through it. Now, over here, we're going to talk about pay-per-call for just a minute. You can see here we've got all sorts of stuff, and it's based on 10% lead call conversion rate. So every time you get a call, how often do you convert calls to clients? So 1 out of every 10 would be 10%. 25 out of every 100 calls would be 25%. Of course, 50% would be 1 out of every 2 calls, or 50 out of every 100 would result in new clients. So it gives you perspective. Of course, if you wanted something, if you actually had those metrics, we could do, we could do it down to percentages for you if you'd like to. For us to do it, just let me know. Okay, so next thing we need to figure out is, okay, how much it is. We have different call packages. You can get buy in increments of either 10, 25, 50, or 100. And they're going to vary. If the more you purchase up front, it is going to be a little bit more economical for you doing it that way. From a pay-per-call perspective, how much you can pay for each call, as well as setup. So let's just say that the pay-per-call, and this isn't reflective of your market, so don't take it one way or another. I'm just using these as some numbers, some metrics to use. Okay, so we're going to say $250 per call, and for the 10, and we'll say 235 for the next one, 220, and we'll say 200 for 100 calls. Okay, plus setup fee, let's call it $997, $497, and then we'll have nothing, waive the fee on the next 2 options, which we typically do. Okay, and you can see those setup fees have carried over here. Now, as you can see, what happened is all sorts of good things have happened really quickly, based on the number of calls that we have here, times the number of calls you purchase. It would cost you, you're gonna have to wear the old glasses here, unfortunately, to see what I've got going on here. So we've got, if you bought 10 calls from us at $250 per call, plus $997 one-time setup fee. If you bought 10, then bought 10 more, you don't have to pay $997 again and again and again. It's just a one-time setup fee per client. Your total outlay would be $3,497 for those 10 calls. Okay, and then if you bought the 25, you'd obviously save on a per call basis, plus the setup fee is lower, so you'd be looking at about $6,400, and then so on and so forth. For 50 calls, you're paying $220 per call. It's $11,000. $200 per call for 100 calls, that's $20,000. I know maybe that sounds like a lot of money, maybe it doesn't sound like anything to you, but that's not really what's important here. What's going to be important is your estimated return on investment and your estimated profits. Okay, so we come down and look. Okay, if you take these various options, either the 10 calls, 25, 50, or 100, and you only converted 10% of your lead calls. So out of the 10 calls, you only converted 10%, right? 10 times 10% is 1 call. Your case value is 50,000, so you get 50,000 gross. Divide that by 3 essentially, and your estimated fees would be $16,665 thereabouts, right? And so, which your ROI on that though is still a huge number. It's 477%, and that's just taking the 16,665, dividing it by the $3,497. So your estimated profit here on these 10 calls, if you just converted at 10% or just 1 client, you still walk away winning big time. How many times, if you could gamble $3,000, I don't want to call it gambling, but if you were at Vegas and were a gambler and you put $3,500 on the table, knowing you're going to get back $13,000 on average every time, that's a no loss proposition. It's all win, right? You've got those types of figures here in this situation. So, that's why I say don't look at the total fees. You got to look at your return on investment, compare it to all sorts of metrics. Now, you can do the same thing with 2.5, with 25 calls. Of course, you don't have 2.5 clients, but from a mathematical perspective, kind of how it works out. But you get the idea. It's either going to be 2 or 3 clients. Obviously, you want to improve your conversion rate, so you're getting more than 2 or 3 clients, right? And then from there, we've got the 5 clients and then 10 clients, all based on just a 10% conversion percentage. So after that, though, the thing you really want to look at is how can you improve your lead conversions if you're at at that rate, or if you're at 25%. That's great news for you, because remember, our fees are going to be static. These fees are what they are, so they're not going to change. Okay, so the better your lead conversion rate is, the lower it's going to cost for you to acquire those clients, meaning you're going to have more estimated profit left over. In addition, you're going to have more clients just because you're converting more of those leads and converting them into clients. So just to give you an idea, 25% at our 10 call option, that's 2.5 clients. Let's go all the way to, you did our 100 option, okay? So you did option D for 100 calls. You could bring in, on average, $1,250,000 of case value. That's just 50,000 times 25. Your estimated fees would be 416,000. Still, you're only paying us $20,000 for those fees. I ask you again, who wouldn't want to place down $20,000, knowing on average they could be getting $396,000? It's a no-brainer. And again, if you're even higher than on a conversion rate, the numbers just escalate and getting higher and higher because our fees are going to be static for you. So the idea is you want to be increasing your conversion rate, and we also have ways to help you do that as you get in our program, can see what you're doing. We offer suggestions. We also have a call tracking software that also records all leads, so you're able to actually listen in on all the phone calls that you wish to listen in on, especially those ones that didn't convert into clients, and find out what happened during the call. There might be some things you pick up that happen time and time again that you can improve upon, whether it's yourself, whether it's one of your staff, another attorney, whatever the case may be. You can do that. So something to consider. So now that you've seen what is possible from a pay per call perspective, so we're cutting right to the chase. Let's see what it looks like from a pay per click perspective. Okay, so now we got to have your click to call ratio, the average number of clicks to produce one call. We talked about that earlier. It typically averages anywhere 1 out of every 4, or it basically takes 4 to 10 clicks or even more to produce one phone call on average by a law firm. So let's just say, put it somewhere in the middle. Let's just say it's anywhere from 1 to let's say 1 to 6 to 1 to 7. I'm just going to put 15% in here. It's a pretty good barometer. Of course, if you know your metric wants to do it, let me know. I can do that for you. Now, suggested bid price per client for your keyword. Now, if you remember, for the Atlanta personal injury lawyer keyword, it was $308 and I think 53 cents or thereabouts. So we're going to put that in. All right. Excuse me. So now you can see what has happened already. Everything's already been calculated for us. So let me just run through this really quick, because what you're going to see at the end of the day, it's so much more economical from a pay per call perspective, because you can see right here your pay per click costs are astronomically higher than ours. You've got on the low end $21,500 versus $3,400, $3,500. You're looking at here 50, close to 52,000 versus 6,000, 103,000 versus 11, and then 205,000 versus 20. Now you tell me what's the better deal. Now you can change these numbers, of course. The higher your percentage, converting clicks to calls. Again, there's a lot of variables involved. The lower this number is going to be. So, for example, we put 20% in there. You can see these numbers went down, but still $154,000 versus our 20. You're going to have a hard time, be hard pressed to getting a better deal with us. Even if we bumped up our per call numbers here, it's still going to be very difficult. It's going to be virtually impossible for us. We'd have to have such high numbers, which we would never do, to even approach these. So just give you an idea, though. Let's go back to the 15%. So if we're looking at it again, so you have to have a lot of clicks in order to produce calls, right? And then you have conversion rates. So it takes a lot of clicks to actually get a converted client. So for example, right here, we've got a 15% number of clicks it takes to produce one call. So for 10 calls here, effectively, it's going to take you, how many clicks is that going to take you? It's going to take you, I believe, like 15 clicks or something like that to convert a click to a call. So you're looking at, on average, to get those 10 calls, it's going to cost you over $21,000 just to produce 10 phone calls. That's not clients, that's just the phone calls. Okay, so you think of it, or excuse me, that's just that's the calls, but you got to have 100 clicks in order or excuse me, let me back up here. Let me make sure I'm saying this right. It gets a little, you know, trickery with the mind here to make sure I've got this, I'm saying it right. So we've got, so 15% is going to be a little less than 10. That'd be at 10%, you'd be at 100. So whatever 15% at 100 is going to be, something less than that. So the bottom line, though, you're going to have to pay for 205. Let's see here. I'll get you the exact number because now I need to know. 56.7 divided by 308.53. So it's going to cost you. It's about 6 to 7 clicks. Remember, I said about 1 out of 6, 1 out of 7. So 15% is in between. So it makes it a little harder to mentally calculate the math. I probably should have made it as a simple number, rounded it down to 1 out of every 10. But I'm hoping you do a little bit better, so I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, around 1 to 6, 1 to 7. So anyway, it's going to cost you. It's going to take you, around 66 clicks to get those 10 calls. Okay, so you need 66 clicks on your AdWord to produce the 10 calls. Now that sounds well and wonderful, but again, to do all that is going to and this we should have these zeroed out. So it'd be a little bit cheaper because you're not going to have a setup fee here. I'm just going to leave that alone for now, but just know that those should actually be backed out because there's not a setup fee with pay per click. Unless you, of course, you have some management, then it's going to be a lot more than that. But as opposed to me managing your pay per click, I'd very much rather give you something much more affordable and something that gets better results, right? So anyway, now to get 10 clicks, it's going to take 66, 67 clicks. 10 calls can take 66, 67 clicks. Get 100 calls, it can take you over about 650 to 675 clicks on average if you're, converting 1 out of every 6, 1 out of every 7 clicks to calls. So it takes a lot of effort in order to get those calls, right? Now, that's all fine and dandy. So now you spent $20,000 to get 10 calls, right? Now, those 10 calls, if you're only doing them at 10%, then you've now spent a lot of money in order to produce those calls. In fact, your estimated fees, if you only land one client at this 15% click to call ratio and your case value is 50,000, your fees are only $16,665. You actually lose money. You're not making money on any of these here. And so if you're doing a pay-per-click, you have a low click-to-call ratio and a low lead call conversion rate, you're going to want to sharpen your pencil. You're going to want to really take a look at these numbers because there's a good chance you're either breaking even or you might be losing money, losing ground. And that's just the example I'm running. I can show you some higher numbers too, but that's the risk you can see that does happen. But if you're at 25% lead call conversion, so out of every 10 calls, you close 2 to 3 clients, or every 100 calls you close 25. So let's go down to 25, just make it easy. So out of those 100 calls, you close 25 clients on average, $1,250,000. So you're still, the metrics still stay the same from a fees perspective. But what the big difference is you're going to see your cost is gone from you go 416,000 less 205, so you're still profitable at $210,000, but you're losing a lot of ground because you're almost 400,000 with us. So it's a huge difference. Now these are great numbers, but you don't know what you're missing till sometimes you're informed by somebody like me that those might be good numbers. You can have better numbers, and that's what I want to help you do. So, and you can do this for all sorts of different parameters here, different ratios, different average case value per client, different contingency. If you do 40%, whatever, 25, for like workman's comp, that kind of thing. I can, demonstrate that for you for all sorts of different numbers. And of course, like the 308 for Charlotte, it'd be cheaper. But then again, all of our pay-per-call numbers would be cheaper to reflect the market as well. So it just depends. But again, that's one keyword. We take one of our metrics is take all those keywords, come up with a composite number, and then do some other factoring in to determine what our very competitive pay-per-call fee structure is, and go from there. The last thing I wanted to point out though here is let me first, I'm just gonna make this and see if I get some positive. So at least I got a little positivity here. If you close, you got from click to call ratio, it was 1 out of every 5 clicks you converted to a call. Let's do 25%. So you're phenomenal. 1 out of every four clicks converts to a call. You're at 25%. All right, you do that. Those are great. I mean, you're doing a great job. Highly unlikely you've got that, but if you do, I want to commend you for it. But even still, then it's going to cost you more. If you look at the various metrics here, you can see down at the bottom here, even at a 50% conversion rate at our, at 100 prepaid calls. If you look at the pay-per-click, it cost, or your revenue would be about $710,000, your take, right? Your profit, estimated gross profit, of course, netted out of, it's basically your fees less your, pay-per-click costs. So you get 709,000 versus 813. So it's still costing you 6 figures going that route. So if you're doing pay-per-call, you might be thinking you're doing great. Guess what? You can be doing better. And I can see this video is very long, so my apologies, but I hope that you're getting great value out of it. So I just wanted to show you the value. The last thing I want to show you right here, down the middle here, and what this is it shows you the difference between our estimated profits with our pay-per-call program versus pay-per-click. And you will see time and time again, if these numbers are positive, which they all are, those are the estimated increased profits you would have with us on this particular scenario. Now, what we would do with you if you're interested in our service and you wanted to really drill down, I can tell you just on a macro perspective, you're virtually always going to look better than pay-per-click. I'll make sure of that, right? And then secondly, if you want us to drill down, we can really go down and see if you're doing pay-per-click, get a better idea of what it's costing you and your profitability and what you're actually getting out of it. And then alternatively, which we could be doing with pay-per-call. And by doing that, you can see here on this spreadsheet that we are able to produce economically leads to you that are 100% exclusive, so you're not sharing them with anybody else. We don't do that kind of thing. We provide them at a very fair cost. If any leads, for example, you get a phone call that invariably will happen from time to time is the wrong number, or somebody accidentally called you using our system. If it's demonstrated, through the system, we can do we can listen to the calls as well. You listen to it. If it's a bad call, we're not going to charge you or deduct your account with us for that one prepaid call. We will just remove it. It doesn't count. We want to make sure you're happy because our goal is to have you for the long term. So just wanted to cut this video to give you an idea of the power of what we have with our exclusive leads program. Again, my name's Anthony Devine. You can actually see my image here on our website at lawyerleadcalls.com. You can see my number right here is 843-290-9950. If you have any questions about anything I went over, you can certainly email me there. Depending on which page you have here, you might see an email address. You can send me an email, or you can send an email to adevine, Devine, at lawyerleadcalls.com as well. And I will get back to you as soon as possible to go over any questions you may have about our program. I encourage you to read through our website. It just takes a couple minutes to go through. And to get started, each of our designated market areas, we try to make them exclusive, depending on the size of the market, of course, and the firm's capability to handling a certain number of lead phone calls and the conversions and all that stuff we talked about. We typically start with one firm per designated market area, unless it's like a New York City or LA or something that's massive. That one firm is most likely capable of handling all of our leads. Then we'll have more than one, but as a general statement, we typically have one, maybe two law firm partners that we work with in each designated market area. So it depends on the market. Some markets are available, some are not. They open up from time to time, but once they're open, sometimes they can go just like that. So I wouldn't wait around. If you're interested, find out what we do have available. If we have something that's available in your marketplace, we can talk to you, get an idea of what you're looking for from a lead perspective. We can give you our various options. We can show you and compare them to a very comparable metric with pay per click, and show you the value you're getting with us. And then if you like what you see, we can get started with one of our options. Like you saw there, we typically start with either an option A at 10 prepaid calls all the way to 100. If there's something in between or something more customized, we can certainly talk about that as well. I like to be very flexible. Our minimum though is 10, just because there is cost and time involved to getting everything set up. Want to make sure it's set up right, and that's why there's a setup fee. If we have more calls up front, we're able to absorb some of those setup fees through our what otherwise would have been our profitability, or a significant portion of our profitability on those calls. So we're willing to do that if you have a longer term commitment, from a number of calls perspective. But our goal is to work with you for many, many years to come. So I don't want this video to go any longer. I know it's been long enough here for you, I'm sure. But if you have any questions, comments, again, feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. Like I said, these typically are exclusive in each market, so you don't want to delay. If you have an interest, contact me as soon as possible, and I will get back to you promptly. Monday through Sunday, I respond back to phone calls as well as emails. So, I know a lot of attorneys work on weekends, maybe not so much in the summertime as it is now, beginning of summer, but, other times of the year. I know a lot of times you're in the office on Saturdays as well, so I make it a point to be available basically whenever you need me. So anyway, this is Anthony Devine. I want to thank you so much for watching this video. Like, again, as I said, I hope you got great value out of it, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care now. Bye.